We're only 5 months into 2025, and 3 of my most anticipated releases for the entire year have already come out. Welcome to my spoiler-free reading vlog and thoughts of all 3 of these books. Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings, and Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jiminez. I gave all 3 of these books different ratings. One of them is a 4.75, one is a 3, and one is a 4. Take your guesses now of which one is which, and we'll see at the end if you're right. In this video, I'm basically just taking you through all of the releases of all 3 of these books and essentially just taking you through my reading journey. Say You'll Remember Me and The Conditions of Will both came out on April 1st, so I did read these 2 books simultaneously, so during this vlog, you'll kind of just see me flip back and forth between the 2 books. And then Great Big Beautiful Life came out on April 22nd, so this is the 3rd book that I read. So let's go read these books together. Okay, I've officially started both of these books. They came out on the same day, April 1st, so I went and picked them up at Barnes & Noble, and I have started both of them. I'm actually listening to this on audiobook because I always listen to just like classic romances on audiobook. So I'm listening to this and I'm reading this, and that's kind of happening simultaneously. So I'll be able to kind of give you my thoughts on all 3 of my most anticipated releases for the year in this single video. So very excited about that. I kind of wanted to give you a rundown of like how I'm feeling so far, whether it's kind of like what I expected going into these or not. I will start with Say You'll Remember Me. I actually am relatively far in this because it's audiobook. I'm able to like really fly through, get a lot of stuff done like while I'm listening. That's why romances are so fun to listen to on audiobook, just because you can get so much done and you're not like having to digest this whole crazy world. It's just like your classic romance. My history with Abby Jiminez is she's always so fantastic. I always absolutely love everything that she puts out. And so I've just been very, very excited about this. I'm actually already this far of the way through. So I'm on chapter 16. This edition is just so gorgeous. I always love her little cartoon covers. I was never like a cartoon cover girl, but I feel like this is so cute. And then also the end pages from the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition are so cute. And I literally love them so much. And it was $3 off for some reason, which is always fantastic. So I'm this far of the way through. As always, Abby just does such a fantastic job of creating characters that are so vastly different than the characters she's created in the past, while also kind of bringing a nostalgic familiarity of characters that do kind of live in the same world. Just for the summer, you've heard me talk about a lot because it's in I'm using it as like my book journal because it's one of my top 2024 reads. 5 stars. I loved it so much. And obviously coming off of that high, you never know like what to expect when another book comes out. She does have a backlist of books that I haven't read that I've heard like aren't as good. So I haven't really ventured into that yet. Maybe I'll do that next. But as far as this goes, it's felt very cozy, very nostalgic, a very just nice palate cleanser romance. There's been 2 or 3 times that I wouldn't go so far as to say it's made me cringe. It really hasn't. It's more so been, for some reason, more so in this book than in any of her others. Abby has used like modern language. Like she used the word imprinted, which just felt very Twilight. It just felt a little out of place. Oh, she also used the phrase core memory, which just was very like Inside Out. And I get what she was trying to do, but sometimes stuff like that can just kind of pull me out of the story. Not enough for me to be like, I hate this book. It's so cute. Like I love the characters, Samantha and Xavier. Just the way that she builds out characters is really just so incredible. So I've loved it. This is just my minor, little tweaks and thoughts of things that I'm like, I don't love that, but I'm not going to like hate the book because of it. I'm not going to stop the book because of it. I think it was present in some of her other books. I've just noticed it a little bit more. This is a little bit like, it just kind of took me off guard, which like, whatever, who cares? It's a really tough spot to toe the line between like using enough modern language to where like your 20-something-year-old romance reader is going to eat this up and love it without making you cringe. For the most part, she does a very good job because she says a lot of references, or she'll say things that like only people in our age group would understand, or only people that are like living in this day and age would know what is being said right now. Like the main character in this, she is a social media rep, essentially a social media manager for a mustard company. And so essentially her whole job is making mustard relevant. And if you're like on the internet, if you're on any corner of the internet, there is specifically on TikTok, random brands such as like Duolingo, there's mayonnaise companies, there's all these different like companies that try to make that thing relevant to your life. And the way that like the Duolingo team has like, whether you're on Duolingo or not, you are just like always kind of involved with their social media. They're in random comment sections. They're posting like the most random stuff that somebody who has never even heard of Duolingo might see that post because the post itself is just so funny and not necessarily pertaining to learning a new language. That's what our main character Samantha is doing for a mustard company. And it's funny because it's not like, yes, she's towing the line between like doing something modern that only we would understand in this day and age without making it like cringy. And it's stuff like that. Like she does a really, really good job. However, paired with that, she has had a few moments where I'm just like, core memory, like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I saw somebody else kind of say this too, and it might just be that like I heard what they said. Sorry, I got so dark in here. I heard what they said about it, and then I think I started thinking about it. I'll kind of see if it persists throughout this book. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's close to my enjoyment of Just for the Summer or Yours Truly yet, but I really love the characters. I love what she's doing. I have zero complaints other than those little tiny things. And I love Abby, and she can typically do no wrong in my eyes. Moving on to the conditions of will, I am on chapter 4, not far at all, literally this much, okay? And if you know anything about Jessa Hastings, you know Miss Girl speaks some words, okay? Like the way that she writes is poetry. It's not like purple prosy poetry. It's like the sporadic thoughts that your brain would have. She just doesn't cut them out. She just not rambles, but the way that she writes is so addictive. It's so addictive. Magnolia Parks is in my top 3 series of all time. That is Jessa Hastings' biggest series. She has 3 going on at the time. I think this is a standalone. So there's this one. She has a series called Never, and then she has a series called The Magnolia Parks Universe. And there's 5 books out, and there's 2 more left to be published. Magnolia Parks is so near and dear to my heart. The way that series has explored grief and personalities and trauma and how to go through life. And it really just holds like such a special place in my heart. Why does the lighting keep changing? Phew. Okay. So the second that I jumped back into this, it is just so refreshing to see Jessa's words on paper again. Just the way that she writes is really unlike anything else. And I just love it. So I'm going to go ahead and say I have no idea what to expect from this. All I know is these characters exist in the same universe as Magnolia Parks, okay? And I know this because I saw somebody post a video about it, and I was like, I'm about to get a name drop of people that I miss so much. We've been waiting for like Daisy Hates 3, which is the next book in the Magnolia Parks series, for so long. And even just like a little tidbit, if anything is in here about these people, like it will cure me. It will hold me over for the future. What I'm expecting from this is just deep emotional family trauma. That is what this woman writes best, and I already just really like it. I just love it because I'm so nostalgic because of her writing, but I mean there really is nothing like it, and I just always highly recommend Jessa. However, I will say, first time I read Magnolia Parks, I didn't like it, and then I kept going, and I absolutely fell in love head over heels with it. I read Never, which is her next series. That's supposed to have 5 books. There's only 1 out. I liked it. It was all right. But that's exactly how I felt about book 1 of Magnolia Parks before I absolutely fell in love. So I'm slow to judge Miss Jessa because she usually wins me over. And I think that she is just a genius in her field, to be totally honest with you. And how could you not just absolutely love this cover? I think it's so cool. Love the back. And then also it's those like deckled edges, which I am obsessed with. I think that's so much fun, so different. And I just love her for I love her for this because it's like, this is so Jessa of her. Like nobody is publishing books with deckled edges anymore. Very, very like infrequent is that happening. And like Jessa would, you know what I mean? Jessa would publish a paperback that has French flaps. You know what I'm saying? Like she would do that. She would post a paperback with deckled edges and French flap and like gorgeous illustrated artwork. Like she would do that. You know what I mean? So I'm just like one of her biggest fans. And I think that she's so cool. And I love pretty much I love just her work as a whole. I may not like think absolutely everything is 5-6 stars, but I love her and her work. And so I'm really hopeful for this, and I'll keep you updated as I go. I'm literally only page like 27, so I am not far enough to really give you any further thoughts on this, but I've loved it so far, and I will keep giving you my thoughts as I go through these 2 books. And then we're going to get to Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life in this video also, and so I'm so excited to talk about all 3. All right, it's the next day. We've made some very significant progress in both of these books, and I'm honestly just having the best time. I'm about to go find a spot to like set up a blanket, have a whole like sunset reading session of The Conditions of Will, and I'm I already said this, but I'm listening to Say You'll Remember Me. So this is more like a in the car on a walk type situation. And then this is like when I actually sit down to read. But since I'm reading them simultaneously, it's best to kind of just give you updates as I go with both of them. This is how far that I am in Say You'll Remember Me, and pretty much the same feelings as last time. Out of all of the 4 books, this would be the 4th Abby Jiminez book that I've read. This is kind of my least favorite so far, but it's not bad. Any Abby Jiminez book is still like in top tier rankings. Like she does characters so well. Again, my only complaint is like the pop culture references that are kind of bothering me. And the more and more people that I hear talk about this book are saying the same thing. So I know it's not just me. However, I really, really love the character work in this. I think that she always just creates such in-depth characters that they feel real. She does a really good job making them feel real. And I am really enjoying it. So I'm like 2/3 of the way through this, and I think I know what's going to happen, and it's just a cozy, fun romance. Reads very much like an Emily Henry novel, and I love it. Like, I'm having a great time. Do I think it's a 5-star book right now? No. Could that change? Yes, but that's kind of my thoughts on this so far. Since we spoke last time about The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings, my life has changed. Not actually, but like pretty much. I think I'm this much of the way through. I think I'm on chapter 27-ish, which is actually exactly where I am in Say You'll Remember Me. I think I'm on chapter 27 in both of those books. This book has already, less than halfway through, seeped its way into my being and made a home there. I don't know, like, there really should be a case study on Miss Jessa Hastings' brain, because the way that she writes characters truly, like deeply and truly makes you believe that these people are real, and not just in a like, oh wow, this is great character work like I feel about the Abby Jimenez book. It is like, you're telling me this person doesn't exist. Like, the stream of consciousness that is her writing is just like, if I were this person, that is exactly what I'd be thinking, and that would be my thoughts. And they're unedited. Like, they're edited, obviously, but like the thoughts are just so real that like, I really, there's no way to explain it unless you read her writing, specifically Magnolia Parks in this one. This book is reminding me so heavily of how I felt reading Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates, and it is just the best feeling in the whole world. And I'm not gonna like say too much because there's just a vibe. There's like a vibe of this book, and like you just have to dive in and not have any expectations, but it is so good. And who knows what could happen from here, but I'm truly obsessed, like utterly obsessed with this. I could not put it down yesterday. I literally read so much, and I didn't have any time yesterday because I literally couldn't stop reading it. So I'm the biggest fan of this. And yeah, so let's get ready to go do a little sunset picnic, little mental health night. Just do some stuff for me, do some reading. We hosted all weekend, and obviously we've just still been getting over being sick, and so I just have needed some time for myself, and so that is what's happening tonight. I made a little latte. It's kind of not the best, I'm not gonna lie. It's not my best work, so I'm like debating making another one or just bringing like a little like Olipop with me. I don't know, maybe I bring both. Like, there are no limits here, you guys. Like, I can do whatever I want, so let's go do it. Okay, I think I read from page 187 to page like 220, something like that. I got to chapter 30. It just gets better and better, you guys. It just gets better and better. We just got a little glimpse into Magnolia Parks universe, which was not expected at all. Like, literally, of all the things I expected, that was not there. To see somebody's name, I was like, shut your mouth right now. That was fantastic. I took a little video of myself reacting to that. There you go. That was shocking and fantastic. And any little tiny drip or drop of the Magnolia Parks universe, I would sell multiple kidneys, limbs for that. So I'm stopping my little picnic here. I'm going to pick back up later on. And we're going to go inside, hang out for a little bit, and read again later on. So I hope you enjoyed this little picnic. I know I did. deserve to be on the inside of this joke. And it's phenomenal. And it makes you feel like you are part of something. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I feel like I'm part of something. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm in the same outfit for my intro. I did film my intro, outro, and my thoughts on each of these books individually on the same day. So that is why you're kind of getting the same vibes from the beginning, okay? You're just gonna have to handle that. I went into this vlog just thinking just film the clips of reading and then worry about all of the editing stuff later on. Obviously, I completed Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jiminez. This was the first book in all three that I finished, even though I read it simultaneously with The Conditions of Will. Watching back the clips of me reading this, honestly, I kind of gave all of my thoughts on it pretty much throughout all of those clips. It was good, okay? This book kind of sent me on a rabbit hole. This book sent me down a rabbit hole the rest of April to kind of deep dive on Abby Jimenez's backlist, which I'm going to talk about in a later video. But out of basically all of her books, this is my least favorite, I think. All of that to say, it doesn't mean it's a bad book. Overall, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I would still recommend this. I would still, if you're looking for a specific whatever, I would still recommend this to you. But it wasn't like I was, losing my mind over this, so to speak. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I felt like it lacked a little bit of her normal character definition. I felt like the romance could have been, explored a little deeper. The parts of this that I really did enjoy were the parts where Samantha is dealing with her mom's memory loss and, just getting kind of a deep dive on what it would look like to deal with something like that. Abby kind of always discusses some major big topic in her books that kind of just gets you thinking about real world issues that real people are dealing with. So I thought that was kind of cool. And as usual, it was really funny. There were some really, really funny parts of it, but just overall, I didn't find myself connecting as deeply to the characters. I felt like they got connected super early on, and that kind of took away my ability to keep rooting for them throughout it, because the keep rooting for them was kind of tied back to this weird long distance situation they had going on, and it just felt a little, I guess the best word to use would be strained. I just didn't find myself reaching for this as often as I find myself reaching for her books when I'm usually reading them. Does that make sense? Typically when I'm reading her books, I am ravaging? Why can't I speak? Typically when I'm reading her books, I am always wanting to be reading it. I want to hear what's next. I want to hear what's going on. With this one, it was a lot less of an intense need to read it, if that makes sense. Still good, but not my favorite of hers. Next up, I completed The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. You guys, she has done it again. She has done it again. This will very, very easily be in my top 5 books, maybe even top 3 books of the entire year. I just already am calling it. You guys know how much I love Magnolia Parks, that entire series, if you've been around here for any length of time. However, I didn't necessarily 100% love her book Never. Now, I am giving myself space to end up liking that later, because when I first read Magnolia Parks, I did not like the first book, but as I kept going, I loved it and then fell back in love with the first book after I realized kind of what was going on. This is a standalone though, so I was a little bit concerned going into it. Am I going to love this? Is this going to be my classic Jessa Hastings thing where I don't like the first book and then I like it later? But since this is a standalone, there's no opportunity to end up liking it later. Man, all worries were put to rest the second I read that first page. It just connected on such a deep level with me. We have Georgia, who's dealing with some very, very deep family trauma. She has to travel back home for her father's funeral. And she's basically met in the face with her family members that she hasn't seen in a very, very long time. She's already dealt with the trauma, but her family has not. And they don't really know what really went down in an incident that you'll learn about in this book. We deal with some treacherous, terrible characters, aka Georgia's sister, Marianne. And one of my favorite parts of this book, and I talked about this in my April reading wrap-up video, so if you're curious about some deeper thoughts on this book, after, the whole month was over, I have that all in that April video. But my favorite part of this was Georgia is trained in facial expressions and body language. And so she's able to detect what someone is thinking or what they're about to say almost immediately before they even say it or do it. She knows how people are feeling. They called her a lie detector in this. It was just one of the coolest nuances of a character I've ever read. And it was written so well to the point where I'm is Jessa trained in this? Because why does she know everything about it? But there was just so many good things in this book. I would call this more a general fiction novel, but there is a romance in it. that was the one thing that kind of knocked off one tiny thing for me. It's a 4.75, so it is so close to perfect to me. I loved the romance, but I didn't buy into the insta-love part of it as much as I would have loved to. But again, it was such a small thing to me. I ended up rooting so hard for them that it didn't really matter, but I kind of just was just a little bit disconnected for part of that. But almost, I mean, just the entirety of this book is just so phenomenal, so fantastic. I had such a good time reading this, and Jessa, just the way that she writes is for me. Like, her writing is either seriously for you or seriously not for you, and it is so for me. She writes just such mundane moments with characters that allow you to see the ins and outs of their lives that I think connects you deeper to characters than you would read, say, in any other novel. And I think that she just does such a gorgeous, beautiful job with all of her writing. And I just love it. I love that I got to read fresh words from Jessa last month. It was just such a breath of fresh air for me. And it really, put her again in that place of, you are one of my all-time favorite authors. Like, nothing will ever remove her from that pedestal for me. And I love it. I loved it so much. Happy national holiday to all those who celebrate. It is Emily Henry release day. Okay, Great Big Beautiful Life hit the shelves this morning. It's now 3:15 p.m. We just had a nail appointment. Look, oh, so cute. So cute. Sorry, that was a side note. But we're now heading to Barnes & Noble to pick her up. I'm so excited. I literally have a little bit left of a book that I'm reading, and then I will be starting immediately. So hopefully today. Yeah, so obviously taking you with me. Barnes & Noble.
Getting directions to Barnes & Noble.
We have arrived. I'm kind of so pumped. I'm also going to make an event out of this. I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to walk around. I might sit down and read the first chapter. Who knows? Okay, so let's go in. A fantastic little book buying experience. I sat in there, I got a coffee. The coffee was so bad, but we can't have it all, right? Okay, at least we got an Emily Henry release, you know what I'm saying? That's honestly the second coffee I've bought today. Oh, shame me, I know. I usually don't do that. I usually make it at home, but today it just felt like a special day, and both times they were so bad. I feel like that was the universe being like, okay, girl, back to making it at home, because I love my at-home coffee. If you ever want a recipe, let me know, because that's my other passion. Read the first chapter, and it's just always such a breath of fresh air to read fresh Emily Henry words. I don't know how to explain it, but she just like kind of speaks to the soul. I know I'm being dramatic, but like that's actually how I feel. I'm very much in like a literary fiction mood, and everybody's saying that this leans more towards literary fiction than even romance, and I'm also kind of in a just fun romance mood, so I feel like this might hit right where I'm at. And I really am such a firm believer that like right when, like, you have to read a book in the right timing to love it the way that it's supposed to be loved, and I just have a good feeling about this, you guys. Like, I have a good feeling about this. Yeah, I'm pumped. It was also $5 off plus my Barnes & Noble membership, so I got it for like $7 off. Period. Girl math, basically free. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that we are going to go ahead and just start this today. I need to finish up that book that I'm reading right now and then get on this because it's already good. And I literally already laughed out loud like twice in the first chapter. This woman is so funny. She must be hilarious in real life, because how does she make me laugh like this? Like, it's words on paper. It's words on paper. And I sure am crying, laughing, feeling everything. So what does that say about me? I'm not too sure, but we're going to keep doing it. And yeah, I will keep you posted on how I'm feeling about it. We're officially halfway, and I am loving it so much. I will give a full update later on. So far, it is so well paced, and I'm loving everything about it. But I'm too enthralled right now to stop reading and give you a full update on how I'm feeling. So I will keep reading, and then when I can pause to make an update, I will. It is a couple days after I filmed that last clip. I am a little bit further. I haven't had a ton of time to read as much as I would love to have a little bit more time to read. I'm about to go to a coffee shop to get some work done, and I left my makeup bag in my car yesterday, so I figured I would just do my makeup in the car because I didn't want to go get it, bring it inside, whatever. So I got all ready, and I'm going to go over there and get some stuff done. But I figured while I did that, we could chat about how I'm feeling about it, what's going on. I think I'm just over halfway, probably like 55% of the way, maybe 60. Honestly, like I'm having the best time. I really, really am very much liking it. I love the direction that Emily Henry is going in. I love that there's a little bit more to the story than just the romance, that we're getting a different portion. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's like women's fiction or like not a romance book. I think it totally is. It just kind of has a little bit more depth. And I love her stories. I didn't think that they could get even better, but I am really, really loving the direction that she's going in. I don't want to give any spoilers, so I don't want to like say, but I will say, like, essentially it's very interview style. Like if you've ever read The Favorites or you've ever read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, it's very much like that, where we're getting like the story from Margaret Ives and like her life, and that's the lady that our main FMC is interviewing in the story. And so we're learning about Margaret's life. That's kind of the basis of the story and where we meet the main male character and stuff. So with that being said, we're getting a majority of Margaret's story as well as our main character, Alice. It's very fun to flop back and forth and get both like stories. I will say Margaret's story, like at first, and I assume that all of it is going to be important. As we're getting Margaret's story, it is kind of like a slow moving story on Margaret's end. And honestly, like I think that that's intentional because I think that all of it is going to tie up and we're going to get answers as to like why we're kind of getting this like miscellaneous information about Margaret and her life and like what's going on with her and like why all the stuff happened in her life. I will say that part is a little bit harder to be super, super interested in just because I'm like, why? But also I do want to know why it all ties together. And I am enjoying that we're getting a flip back and forth of like what's happening with Alice and then what happened with Margaret in her life, if that makes sense. I'm kind of just trucking along in the story and I'm really enjoying it. And Emily Henry, like the way that she just writes like banter and funny things, like I am laughing out loud several times every time I sit down, even if it's just one chapter or whatever, like I am having a great time. And just the way that she writes is so like, I don't want to say therapeutic, but it feels like I'm going to therapy in the way of like, she just sprinkles in these little tidbits of information that I'm like, oh, that cut right to my heart. Like, oh, is that something I didn't know I need healing in? Like what? And then the next line, you're literally cracking up. It's like such a good mix of important information while also giving you the comedic break where it doesn't feel like you're reading and it's super, super heavy and you're like being super introspective and having to like dig deep to figure out why that's like messing you up so bad. But at the same time, it leaves you with such depth. Not that like reading fun stuff is a waste of time, but like you don't feel like you're just laughing or whatever. You're actually taking something away from it that is like so much deeper than you would ever anticipate getting from a romance novel. So I don't know. There's something about Emily Henry and her writing that just slays. It's very similar to Abby Jiminez for me. And I am just having a great time. That's pretty much all my updates as of right now. I don't think I'll be able to read at the coffee shop just because of all the things I need to get done for some work stuff. But I may try. I may try to do it. Either way, I'm going to have some time to read later tonight. I get most of my reading done in the evening time. I have a hard time, and this is just like a problem with me. I have a hard time sitting down to read during the day just because I do have a very, very, very busy life. And I feel like during the day, it is always just go, 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 and like something to do and something to get done. And if I stop to read, it almost feels like I'm not being productive, even though reading is productive. Reading is more like a wind down, like time that I'll like sit down at 8 and read till 11 instead of like being on my phone or like watching videos or anything. I'm also just really not a TV show girl at all. I have a hard time like paying attention, like staying focused and interested in TV shows and movies. Like sometimes I'll do it. Like there's the occasional show where I'm like, okay, I need to sit down to watch this. Hold on. But typically I'm not super like, I have a very hard time getting things out of TV shows or let me actually like backtrack and say I almost feel like watching TV shows is not super productive, and I have a problem with feeling like I need to be productive 24/7. If you take away anything from this video, it's that. So basically TV shows, like, I can't really pay attention, and I also am just like, man, like, I feel like I could be spending my time a lot better. Not to say that, like, I never watch TV shows. I will, but I just enjoy reading more. So at night, I'm not, like, turning on a TV show. I'm typically sitting there and reading. Occasionally, I will be doom scrolling, not gonna lie. I need to be better about that. But that's pretty much the update for today. I will keep you posted as I get to know this book more.
This all is adding up. Not Emily Henry writing like a mystery.
And then finally, I finished Great Big Beautiful Life. As you can see from my reactions, I had a pretty emotional reaction to the end, and I cannot even tell you why. There's just something about reading Emily Henry, and sometimes the little tiny sentences she just throws in there are such a gut punch to like what you're thinking and feeling at that moment. Sometimes her books find you at the right place. Sometimes they find you at the wrong place, and this one just found me in a really, really good place. I ended up giving this 4 stars. Is it my all-time favorite Emily Henry novel? No, but I did have a great time reading it. This is very different than her other works. Even her title is quite different. All of her other titles are like short and sweet. I mean, I guess besides People We Meet on Vacation, but this is just like a different take on her writing style. And I felt like she did a great job. This is very much intertwining a romance with a general fiction story, actually similar to Conditions of Will genre-wise. They're written totally different, but genre-wise, I felt like the Conditions of Will was kind of part general fiction because you're really focused on just like something other than the romance and romance. This is, you're really focused on Margaret Ives' story, as well as our main male character and our main female character. What is his name? Allison Hayden. So Alice and Hayden, obviously there's a love story between them, and Margaret Ives is the person that Alice is interviewing throughout this whole book. She's getting the real deal story of the ex-tabloid princess who was all over the media and then suddenly disappeared. Now she's in her 80s and Alice is interviewing her, but also fighting for the position with another writer that is supposedly better than her. Classic Emily Henry. But a lot of the story really focuses on Margaret Ives' story. I gave this 4 stars. There were parts of Margaret Ives' story because in the book, it's kind of split up, kind of like Happy Place, in Happy Place when like it switches up, like you're reading, real time, and then you're going back in time to read like the Happy Place things from like years ago. Similar to that, it's broken up in the way of like you're reading the normal chapters, and then it'll jump into the story. And it's kind of Alice writing Margaret Ives' story, which is really cool. However, I think I discussed this in like clips while I was reading it, but just as like kind of my final takeaway thought on this, the reason it got knocked down, to a 4 for me, and 4 is still a great rating, but the reason it got knocked down was just because even at the end of the story, when all of the pieces clicked together and I understood a lot of the pieces of Margaret's story that kind of like, we got these little tidbits of things, then all of a sudden it just like came as a culmination of like why all that happened and why we needed to know all that. There was still parts of her story that I was like, why did we spend time deep diving on that? I don't really understand like why we needed to know about the great-great-great-great-grandfather and go through that entire story. I felt like there may have been a better way to bring us through her story and have it connect without having like pages of stuff that I still, and maybe I'm missing something, but stuff that I still am just kind of like, why was that like so necessary for me to read and understand? Overall, I loved the way it connected. I didn't guess the ending at all, and I thought I would, but I didn't. And it was almost like mystery-esque towards the end because you're really fighting to understand some parts of Margaret's story that she's leaving out, and Alice is almost playing detective in the way of like, why aren't these piecing together, and how do I figure this out? And so you're kind of all the way through the end getting these bits and pieces of her story. And so overall, I liked Margaret's story, but there were just some pieces that I was like, why? Like, why did I need to know that? I guess like it's whatever, but it didn't like hit me. You know what I mean? The only other part I didn't super love was I felt a little disconnected from the romance, not all the way, but I felt just a little bit disconnected, and I cannot tell you why. I felt like Margaret Ives' story and the romance mixed together so well. I loved that. That's why it's a 4-star to me, because I think for her first attempt at something like that, it was really well done. Overall, really, really well done. But if I'm being slightly picky, it was just the little part about Margaret's story that I was like, why? And then the romance, I didn't feel like I fully connected to. Again, it all matters when you read a book. It all matters what headspace you're in. Some books find people at the perfect time. And this one found me at a good time, but I also just felt like I wasn't necessarily in the headspace to connect. Same thing with The Conditions of Will. I had a slight issue with that, like, insta-lovey. Honestly, all 3 of these books were very insta-love. Actually, yeah, they all were kind of insta-love, like different degrees of. I would say that Emily Henry's is honestly like the very least of the insta-love. Like, it almost doesn't even qualify in that category, but because this all takes place over literally 1 month of time, it technically is. It just, there are parts of it that just felt a little too fiery, a little too fast for me. And I would have loved to kind of, like her other books, deep dive into these characters and then feel that tension as we go. But overall, again, it was a really good experience. I obviously had a very emotional reaction to the end, and I laughed all the way throughout it, and I had a good time. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Great Big Beautiful Life. Let me know your thoughts. But yeah, I loved it. I guess in my final Emily Henry ranking, I would have to look. Let me see. I really need to reread Funny Story to be able to give a full ranking, because when I read Funny Story, I was literally about to get married, and I was not focused on the story, and I felt like I didn't have a good time reading it. But I know I'm going to go back and love it. So for right now, it's Funny Story, People We Meet on Vacation, Great Big Beautiful Life, Book Lovers, Beach Read. I think that's where we stand. I'm going to be doing kind of like a big video on best romances to read over the summer, and I'll probably do like a full ranking in that video. So keep your eye out for that. And I really do need to reread Funny Story so that I can give you like an actual thought on that. But as we stand today, that is the ranking. Let me know your ranking. I'm always curious to hear that. Also, let me know your ranking of Abby Jiminez's books, because it's just kind of fun to like put them in their orders in our minds. April just really felt like a great big long national holiday for 3 of my favorite authors to come out with new books. So much fun. There are other books coming out this year that are highly anticipated reads for me, but these were the top 3 that I was looking forward to the most. So excited that I got to read it with you, go through a little reading vlog. I loved filming this. This is such a fun type of video to film for me. Let me know in the future if there's any type of like vlog content you're wanting. Like, I personally would love to include like more of my life in these videos. I would also love to keep it book centered, because I know that's why we are all here. But just like doing these little reading vlogs is so much fun, and giving you my thoughts as I go just kind of gives me like solidified thoughts on the book as I read too, because I feel like sometimes when I finish a book, I like finish it and I'm like, what did I just read? Like, how did I feel about that? And I felt like doing something like this really like helped me like keep track of my thoughts as I went, especially since these came out in such quick succession. And there were parts of it that really were similar to each other. Writing style, totally different, but like similar to each other in certain ways. So like this kind of helped me keep it straight, my thoughts on the different books and the different things we were kind of thinking as I read them. If you read these 3 books, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear what you thought while reading them, what you thought you were going to rate them, what you ended up rating them. Obviously, Conditions of Will was 4.75, Say You'll Remember Me was 3, and Great Big Beautiful Life was 4. Let me know what your final rankings were, what your thoughts were. Let me know what your other most anticipated reads of the year are. Mine are The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I believe that comes out May 22nd. I'm not really sure. And then my other highly anticipated read for the year is Alchemized by Sen-Lin Yu. I was a Manacled reader. I read that 2 years ago. If you're unfamiliar with Manacled, it is a fan fiction that basically is written phenomenally, and it takes place after the 5th book of Harry Potter, and kind of obviously it's Hermione. Obviously it is. Like, I am that girl. I'm sorry. It's actually the only fan fiction I've ever read, and I loved it so much. So I really need to pick up some more of them, because everybody's recommended like different ones to me, and I need to read them. But as of right now, I've only read that, and I read that a couple years ago. It's still in my mind. It was written so well, and this author wrote so well that she ended up actually taking that story and and traditionally publishing it into like brand new characters, obviously, because you can't publish a fan fiction, but she turned it into brand new characters, and I'm so excited to see the way that it changes and like all that stuff. So I'm sure I'll do like a vlog of reading that comparatively to when I had read Manacled initially. Had so much fun reading this with you guys. Obviously, there are so many places for us to connect: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, Fable, Goodreads, my Etsy shop, basically everywhere. I always have that in the description. I always have that in my YouTube bio. And then they're also going to be linked on the end page for you, as well as some other fun videos that you can tap to watch. As always, reading with you is such a pleasure. I love being here. I love making videos for you. It honestly is such a dream to get to talk about all my favorite books with you, and I'm excited to chat with you in the comments about what you thought about all these books. And obviously, if there's any video requests or things you'd like to see from me, please let me know. I love making content that you love to watch. And a lot of your comments have inspired so many of the things that I've read recently and have become like new 5-star reads for me. So obviously, tell me all the books I should read, all the videos I should make for you. And yeah, I will see you guys next time.